Hi guys, long time no see. Well, it was just yesterday really, but hey everybody, how's it going, eh? Todd, the cheap drums guy. Long time no see. Yeah, I was on a little extended hiatus, but I'm back for a little bit, and we're going to talk about thinning the herd. As you all know, I've got a lot of stuff, most of which has been bought all used, very inexpensively or acquired by other means. No, not theft. And I have an abundance of stuff, and I don't need it all, and I don't use it all. So I'm going to thin out what I have. You know, I'm glad I got everything. I'm glad I did some of the projects that I did, but it gets to the point where it gets a little overwhelming because there's so much, and I just really don't need it and don't want it anymore. I am keeping two of my drum sets. My Premier APK will be staying, of course, and my wonderful Olympic by Premier kit. I love this thing. I love the mahogany. I love the sound of it. Love the look of it. It's just my go-to kit. I just absolutely love it. But as far as drum sets go, that's all I wish to retain. I'm going to retain both sets of cymbals. I could not get rid of my Pistes if I tried. I absolutely love the Pistes. And the Sabians, I like it because when I want something different, I've got that to fall back on. Snares are gonna pretty much stay the same. All the Premiers are staying. Everything else is gonna go. Now, as far as the other drum sets, the Pearl Soundcheck, I'm going to do a little work to it first. I'm probably going to sell it down the road, but even though we used the car polish on the wraps, which made it look really good, anytime you touch it after that, the fingerprints, well, it shows. It shows that they've been handled. And there's a couple of bad spots on the wrap, and I'm thinking, well, those are mahogany drums as well. If I took the wrap off that thing, that exposed mahogany woods would just be absolutely fabulous. Put a coat of lacquer over top of it, a satin lacquer, because the new Premier snare drum I got with that satin lacquer on there, oh my god, it's just, I just find myself just kind of touching it all the time. I mean, it's smooth to the touch, of course, but it doesn't have that obnoxious gloss to it. And I'm kind of fond of the satin. So I'm probably going to be checking that today. That's just going to entail taking one of the toms apart and seeing if I can get a playing card in between the wrap and the shell, or at least fit something in there, just to make sure it's not glued all the way around. If it's glued all the way around, I'm kind of screwed. But if it's not, if it's just glued on the seams, I'll take a hairdryer, heat it up, be able to pull that right off. And I should be left with an absolutely flawless, beautiful shell to work with. And with the black hardware, I think that's going to look quite stunning. So that's going to be it for the sound check. But eventually I think I will sell that one. And I think the wood grain, it'll look better for resale than the black wrap. And as far as the Army Green drum set, it's got a lot of issues with it because it's inexpensive, it's old, and between its past life and life with me, it's seen better days, and there's little issues with the shells, and so I'm going to try to make a determination of whether or not to scrap it. Where I live, there's not a big resale and retail for used drums. I've reached out to the local school systems to no avail. I couldn't really get help through them. Never got replies either half the time. So it could end up going to the landfill more or less after I remove all the parts off it. On top of those, I have other drums that I've made for projects that were really cool. I never ended up using them. So I'm probably going to get rid of them. And again, there's not much. I really can't take them up to our music store here and say, hey, can you sell these for me? Because no one's going to buy them. You know, it is what it is. And I don't feel really good about it. Then again, it's all scrap parts anyways, so I'm not that concerned. And I'm not going to ship them across the country to anybody. It's just, I don't want to go through the effort and the time. I'm on vacation. I plan on doing absolutely nothing. But, So, what else has been going on? Bears. Lots of bears. Northern Michigan. Funny. We got bears here. So, in the past several months, there's been a lot of dealings with bears. The black bear, for example. Ursus americanus, the American black bear. Generally, seeing a bear in Michigan was very rare. Usually if there's a big dump site somewhere or it's a campground dumpster, you might see them trying to mosey around in those and play with those a little bit, but generally you just never saw them. I saw one in my 56 years life, and that was probably 40 years ago, and that was a cub. But lately, between one of my co-workers having to forcefully drive off the road to avoid hitting an extremely large one, 2 years ago we had one in town, a big, big dangerous bear. They took it to the other side of the state and released it there, and it came all the way back downtown. And I'm talking in the downtown area. A lot of kids. It's very dangerous. Unfortunately, I had to put that one down. Another job a few months ago out south of Calava near a town called Brethren. I didn't actually see it, but I smelled it. I know what a bear smells like, and I just had that feeling of being watched, and I smelled a bear, so of course I was very cautious. A couple of weeks ago, I'm right up here, right outside of town, and right across the street from this church and big subdivision, near 4 Mile Road at the roundabout there. I'm going through in my truck, and sure enough, a big old bear crosses the road right there. I'm like, my gosh. And the bear was stupid because there was a guardrail, and the guardrail stopped, and then there was a trail going off the road this way. And instead of just waddling down the trail, it decided to climb to the end of the guardrail. Well, there's some bears that ride the short buses too. And then, what was it? And that was the last one I had. And then just the other day, just before my vacation started, I was out in the town of Lake Ann. And I was about a couple miles from Lake Ann off. And so the Americans are really big on living out in the woods. And Lake Ann is a nice little lake community. And their subdivisions, if you could call it, is more or less off the main road. You cut a 2-track in, or a little dirt road in, and every quarter mile they build a house off in the woods there. So you are essentially out in the woods. But I was at a job site there. I had to do a pickup, and I couldn't get the truck in. So I stopped out on the road, very thick woods, very beautiful, and I took the Moffett, which is the forklift that's mounted on the back of my truck. I took it off, drove it up the driveway to the house, which was still, hasn't been dried in yet. It's still the framework with the roof on it, so you could see right through it more or less. And the material I was supposed to pick up was in the back. They took it in the back with a SkyTrack machine, and SkyTracks can go places my Moffett can't. So I went back at least to take a look at it, see what I had to go back, and I walked around the side of the house through the sand, and I'm looking at the lumber. I'm like, okay, there it is, and I'm gonna pick it up. Yeah, right there. As I'm looking at the bunk right in front of me, there's this pile of sand right here they dug up from the foundation, and I saw this head go boom. And of course, when you're out in the woods and you see a big dark object stand up and look at you, of course, panic almost ensues, and then you know, take a look at what's about ready to eat you. Well, it was a bear. And I'm surprised I didn't smell this one, but because usually they stink. I mean, it's a big unwashed critter. I mean, they usually stink. But the bear popped up, and that was my cue to turn and walk towards the house, walk through the framing of the house, which, you know, could possibly prevent the bear from following me. Walk through the house, back onto my Moffett, onto the truck, and go. The bear did not pursue me. There's no reason for it. There's plenty of food in the area, natural food for it. And you never run from a bear. Never run, because that kicks in something instinctual that you are prey, and there's a good chance that it could chase you. And even though with the bear chasing me, I'm pretty sure I could move faster than most of you. There's still a good chance he could catch you. But nonetheless, I went my way, he went his way, and that was it for the yogi. So, but anyways, I've got to thin the herd, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do with everything and how am I going to get rid of everything. No, I'm not shipping anything across the country because I don't have financial stuff situated where people can send me money and then I can just, you know, send it away. I don't take things that far. But we're going to look at that Pro Kit and see what we have to work with if we got to take that wrap off. So if you got nothing better to do, hang out for a little bit. At least until my coffee runs out. Then just see yourself out. Alrighty then. So I hope everybody's been doing great. I know stuff's been going on with everybody. I know Sheila, one of my favorite subscribers, and who I refer to as my Hawaiian wife. I'm always looking for a next ex-wife. They got her and her husband Don got some new property out there in Hawaii. Aloha to you, sweetheart. Hope everything is going well. They're kind of a groovy couple, you know. They're both percussionists. Both do things with the percussion group on a regular basis. I'm kind of envious of stuff like that because I just don't have it here. It might exist. I just don't know the people. And the people I do know, I do have a friend of mine who's an airline pilot, but you know, on his time off, he does play drums, a little band. It's just classic rock. But ever since the virus, the cold and flu, nobody really seems to be doing anything with each other anymore. So I really haven't heard from anybody. And look at the inside of that shell. Oh my gosh. That is absolutely beautiful. Oh, that's mahogany. And that would be absolutely stunning. Put a clear coat of satin lacquer on that, and it's going to look absolutely beautiful with the black hardware and whatnot. Oh, that would make for a very, very beautiful drums. And if it looks that good, it might actually keep me from actually selling the kit because as far as, you know, I've never been a big Pearl fan, never has been. I just, I don't know. I just don't have high regard for Pearl. I mean, it's an average drum company. It's kind of like Chevrolet, you know, but I like Premier. It's like, why drive a Chevy when I can drive a Land Rover? That's the way I look at it. But yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. So let me see if I can find something that'll actually fit under the wrap. I wonder if I can slide that into there. And then we can see how we're going to go about. See, it does fit under it a little bit. See, what I'm afraid if I take this apart, because a lot of drums, when they're glued, most of them are only glued on the seam. The wrap's put on nice and tight. It's glued on only at the seams. I'm afraid that this one might be glued on the entire body of the wrap. I mean, it's a very inexpensive drum set, so I really don't think they put that much time and effort into it. But if they did, that's a problem, because then we have to take a hairdryer and heat the whole thing and remove the entire wrap slowly. Then we've got to get a sander and sand all that glue off before you can do anything. And I mean, all that glue has got to come off, because once you put a lacquer over top of it, you're going to notice that, oh, look, there's some glue on there. I think I will save the badges as well. I'm really not super sure about this wrap, I guess. Oh, one thing I can do, I can take off all the hardware, heat up that seam with the hairdryer, and just, now it's right on, there's two lugs on that seam. Now I could heat that up and try to remove it. Hopefully the rest of the wrap will just fall right off. If so, good to go. If not, I can always put it back on, put a little bit more glue on there, put the lugs back on to hold it down, and just have to deal with it. But, and that didn't fit under it. I mean, this is thin. I mean, I could use a playing card, but I don't play cards and I don't have any down here, so. But this thin does fit in there. It fits underneath the wrap, but I'm concerned because it's not going that much farther. Where's the seam at? Oh, okay, there it goes. Now, the ring did go all the way in there, so that tells me it's only glued on the ends. Hopefully. Okay. And like, again, look at the inside of that. That shell is absolutely beautiful in there. Oy vey. Now, like I've said before, I mean, as far as making drums, Pearl is probably leaps and bounds farther ahead than most drum companies. Not only do they make drums for themselves, they make it for other other companies as well. If you have an inexpensive drum set, a beginner drum set, intermediate drum set, there's a pretty good chance those shells and the drums themselves are made by Pearl overseas. And of course, whoever Pearl's making it for, Pearl will put their logos on it. And more often than not, if it's inexpensive, it's just a decal or a decal, however you're damn Canadian. Easy peasy. That's why I've seen, like on this kit right here. Now, this is an Olympic made by Premier. Thank you very much. Or you're welcome, I should say. And it's not made in their factory. It's an older kit, but it's not made in their factory. But these lugs are very generic, and I can go online and find used drums that are sold on Guitar Guitar Center's website with the same exact lugs. And what does that tell me? A lot of these were all made in one standard factory and then shipped, and someone put the decals. That's why the decals aren't on perfectly straight. Like the one on the bass drum is off center by a 1/4 inch. That's fine. I absolutely love these drums. Now, which is interesting because this one's also a mahogany kit. This is mahogany. This could have been made on the same line as the Soundcheck, just with different lugs, different wrap color, different decals or decals, and different hardware. Be kind of interesting. So these guys could be cousins, stepsons, stepkids, twice removed on their families on their brother's side. Who knows? But it could be something interesting. But since I was able to get under the wrap on this, I think that might be a start to our next project. To actually taking all the hardware off, as you can see by my expression, because I enjoy doing that so much. Taking all the hardware off, taking all the wraps off, and doing another refinishing project on a drum set. Now, we have, being in the company that I work for, we have access to all these people who do this kind of work, and I actually thought about it, well, until I remembered I'm married and my wife won't go along with it, is one of the people that we deliver to, or deliver product to for people to have them refinished, if they could actually do a couple of coats of spray satin lacquer on here and have it professionally done. Lord knows I'm not a professional at anything except drinking coffee and being obnoxious, but you gotta have. So I'll end up having to do it myself. But if I can get this wrap off easily off this one, we're going to have another drum finishing set of videos, and this is going to be a clear lacquer cover, just like my Premier Artist Birch snare. I don't, the shine is nice. Shine is also something you have to keep up on. I do work on my chrome still, but I really love that satin. That is absolutely stunning. So we're going to do that. But the whole point of this video is I do have to thin out the herd. Some of the snares, pieces of snares, I have several snare drums that are just pieces, just shells left. I don't need them. I'm not going to retain them. Probably won't even retain the hardware, just for the fact that it's inexpensive, and I don't see myself doing projects regarding that anymore. I've got a whole bin over here that's full of parts from the other two drum sets that met their demise, and it's unfortunate, but the Army Green drum set might meet its demise as well, just for the fact that the structural integrity of the shells is just not there, and I am not going to continue to go through the effort to keep repairing it and repairing it and repairing it, when in the inevitable it's just going to go eventually. There just won't be nothing else you can do. And I do need the space down here. I mean, this is a basement. This is what's our home when we live here, and I don't want to have the entire basement full of drums, just for the fact that, one, I can't use them all the time, and I'm pretty busy at work. But I just wanted to touch base with you, say hi, see what's going on, tell you the interesting things going on with the bears here in good old northern Michigan, up in the deep dark forests of Michigan in the Great Lakes state. The reason why there's so many bears is because the Department of Natural Resources, aka the DNR, has lessened the numbers of bear permits for hunting. And in the past, by limiting the numbers of, by allowing hunting of bears in certain times of the year, you didn't have that problem. But once you take away all these permits, the bears begin to overpopulate because there's a huge deer population here too. Just look at all the cars that end up hitting them all the time. But when there is a lot of prey for the animals, the predators will keep reproducing, and you'll see more and more of them, which is not a problem. It's a wonderful natural thing, and I love seeing animals in the wild. And watching a bear kind of lumber across the road is kind of cool. I mean, it is really neat. Watching the deer are pretty cool. But the problem is, unfortunately, they're encroaching on human habitat, which is fine because we can live in with them. But when they're coming into the cities and into the subdivisions where there's kids and dogs and cats and all that, kids playing in their yards, and you have to start worrying about a bear jumping a fence and taking down your kid. Yeah, someone's going to answer to that. I mean, that was the other one I forgot about. Just a month, 2 months ago, when I was walking Ranger up the street, Avenue D there, and my neighbors across the way stopped and said, "Hey, what are you doing walking your dog? There's a bear right there." And sure enough, less than half a block away, actually with a matter of a couple dozen meters or so, there was a very large black bear. But yeah, the black bears, when they're coming in and around this human settlements and stuff like that, and they're not really that afraid of you, that's a dangerous bear, because then they won't have any hesitancy to take you down. So, but anyways, that's what I'm going to do for the next couple of weeks, and if I can get it apart fine and dandy, we're going to do another drum finishing video, and if not, I'll just fix it, put it back to the way it came, turn the lights off, and forget I never did anything. But anyways, you guys have a great day. I'll talk at you later. I gotta go finish my coffee. And I also have another YouTube page, or not a YouTube page, YouTube channel. Now, another thing that kind of occupies my off time, as I play a military war game called War Thunder. It's about tanks, planes, ships, helicopters, and tanks. I've got well over 1,000 different tanks on this game, and it's actually a wonderful thing. But there's a lot of things I like to talk about with the military, and a lot of things I like to talk about with the game. I've been playing the game for 9 years, and I'm pretty decent at it. I am, as far as the levels you go up, I'm as high as you can get, what they call a marshal. And I'm going to put out a little series of videos called War Thunder Quickies. Every one of you know what a quickie is. It's been dozens of years, but maybe I can still remember. Anyways, put out a series of little short videos on the game, little cheats, neat things, and see things I see on an everyday basis with the game that people keep making mistakes on all the time, and it drives me absolutely nuts. So I thought I'd go in there and do a series, probably a 20-30 little videos, maybe 5 minutes long, of these quickie videos. And that way I can also talk crap about my tanks a little bit, and because one of the tanks that I served on in the military is also represented in that game, the M728 CEV Combat Engineer Vehicle, and I absolutely love it. And it'll just give me another channel to talk about, since no one wants to be sociable these days anymore. I might as well do something. But anyways, that's it for me today. Let you know what I'm doing with the odds and bods and the modified drums that I don't ever use, don't have a need for, and I don't feel like shipping. Because like I said, some of those shells have been cut, and when you do cut some of that stuff down, it weakens the shells, and so it just makes it easier for the shells and the plies in the shells to start coming apart. And that's what I've realized, and that's what's happening now. So, but I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff, because I do need to scale back a little bit. But anyways, let me get on out here for now. I'll probably see you in a week or two, and on what's going to happen with the Pearl sound check. You might see me tearing it apart, or you might not. We shall see. Anyways, you guys have a good week, and I'll talk at you later. Todd Cheap Drums guy. Hey, my coffee's still good. Woo-hoo.